Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Daleko Arts public service live stream. I'm your host, Ben Teege, Daleko Arts Artistic Director, and Amanda is unfortunately out this evening, so I have a substitute with me. It is Daleko Arts Ensemble member Patrick Kazaki. Patrick?
Good evening, Ben. Thank you so much for introducing me. As you said, I am Patrick Kazaki, board president of Daleko Arts, and an ensemble member extraordinaire, some would say.
Some would, not me. However, I will say what I would say to Amanda if she were here. Patrick, you look ravishing.
Thank you so much, Ben. You look like you tried your best today, so thank you for that.
Thank you. As most of you know, most of you Daleko Arts patrons know, Halloween is the most dangerous holiday of the year. One of the most dangerous holidays of the year. And so we were thinking, what could we do to help you remain safe in these uncertain times during this uncertain holiday? So we contacted the Minnesota Department of Trick-or-Treat Safety, or MnTOTS, and they were nice enough to provide us with one of their officials, the Vice Officer of Spooky, Miss Venetia Needles. Miss Needles, welcome to the show.
Yes, hello. A pleasure to be here.
It's so wonderful to have you. Miss Needles, can you tell us a little bit about your position at MnTOTS?
Yes, I kind of lucked my way into MnTOTS. You know, when you're the best at being spooky, you know, you really get headhunted for any type of job. But I decided to work for MnTOTS because I believe in safety. We should be scared, but we don't want to get hurt. Isn't that true? Don't you feel the same?
I certainly do. I whatever we can do to keep people safe. That's what we're looking for this evening.
Like, by all means, you know, have your toast and then take a bath, but don't do it at the same time.
That's right. That is good. That is very good advice. Very, very good advice.
Thank you so much for that.
Yes. We should move to some initial questions here and get right into it. Patrick, did you have any questions for Miss Needles that you could throw out there?
Absolutely. Ms. Needles, I feel like we should just cut right to the chase with some hard questions here. Address the elephant in the room, or in the Zoom, if you will. As you know, Ms. Needles, these are some uncertain times we find ourselves in, and lines have been drawn on the heated topic of candy corn. Yes. Now, how do we, as a community, Ms. Needles, come together on this sweet, yet some would say bitter topic?
I'm so glad you asked that, because there is no more dangerous candy than candy corn. Now, something that is sneaky and tries to be a household vegetable and yet is made of candy, you should never trust. However, it is ubiquitous with the time, so you have to indulge. Now, I say, when interacting with candy corn, you have to consider the three colors involved: brown, orange, and white, or white, orange, and yellow. They're very different corns, so there's a lot to be dealing with. Kind of like Neapolitan ice cream. It's all ice cream, sure, but there's different flavors, and those different flavors lead us different directions, and candy corn does the same thing. Almost like being stuck in a corn maze. You think that you're heading back towards the caramel apple stand, when really you've ended up in the den of crows, and you have to marry the eldest before they set you free.
I'm glad you brought crows up, Miss Needles, because crows are, everyone knows crows are extremely scary. I wondered if you could possibly talk about the science behind crows being so frightening.
Yes, of course. Well, crows, as you know, they flooded down. They are the keepers of the in between. They go from they go from the netherworld into our world and then back again. So if you make a crow angry, it's bound to take your soul to the netherworld, report to the higher ups. You will get pink slipped, and then it will send it back down to you. Also, crows have excellent memories, so they remember where you live and will tell other crows, and then they'll have their crow gang like circle up and kind of, attack. So you really want to be respectful of crows. They like shiny things. They like you to wear feathers so they don't feel alone. That's why I always carry a swatch of feathers myself, just in case I stumble across a crow, and then they know I'm not out to harm them. I'm out to become one of them eventually. Yes.
That makes
Helpful.
perfect sense. That makes
Yes,
perfect
of
sense.
course it does. Of course it makes sense.
Yeah.
Of
That
course.
is that is helpful information. Thank you so much.
Well, I
Uh,
just want you all to stay so safe. Halloween's a very dangerous time, and we want everyone to stay safe out there. So I'm
Absolutely.
here to illuminate you.
Oh, just powerful, powerful stuff, Ms. Needles.
Very
Speaking
nice.
of speaking of safety,
Mm,
Needles, that brings me to my next question. We all need to know what the threat level is this year on the Great Pumpkin. Can
mm.
you tell us about that?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. The Great Pumpkin is quite a tale. And let me just say here, often the pumpkin gets a bad rap. But the pumpkin is misunderstood. A lot like Santa Claus. Everyone thinks Santa is this great big jolly elf that comes down and gives presents. Oh, no, no, no! Santa's stuck. He can't get out. He can't get out of the snow globe that he's stuck in. He's forced into a perpetual cycle of delivering gifts against his will. He works his fingers to the bone. Same with the great pumpkin. Do you know the great pumpkin was once a dancer on the Broadway, and he tip-tapped his shoes too far, and then a witch came down, a witch much like this deity here. See her nose? Untrustworthy. And she cast a spell on the great pumpkin and turned that backup dancer into a pumpkin that comes out once a year. It's it's a confusing tale, but it is very 100% true. It's a tragedy. And now he just wants to dance for the children. But the children are scared because they think, "What's this pumpkin man dancing for me? I don't understand. Mommy, Daddy, what am I seeing here? Do I trust it?" And of course, you don't, because you don't trust strangers. Not in this country, anyway.
It is very difficult to
Did that clear things up? Was that very clear?
That was very clear, very clear. Thank you.
So my suggestion is if you come across the great pumpkin, you actually give it a tip. Give it a tip, because chances are he was an out of work. He was a struggling actor before, and now he's this pumpkin guy, and he only can work one day a year. It's rough out there. It's rough out there. So throw him a bone. Give him a buck or two. He could use it.
That's sound advice for sure.
Yes.
You spoke of strangers earlier, and that reminded me of a question that I wanted to ask you. Um, you know, there are people out there who bake pumpkin seeds and eat them. Should we exercise caution when dealing with somebody that, frankly,
Mm.
insane?
Well, Ben, I have a question for you. Do you like drinking razor blades?
I have never tried it, but I can assume it would not be pleasurable.
Mm. Well, that's kind of like eating a pumpkin seed that you haven't chewed well enough.
Mm.
It's like drinking razor blades. So if you are going to partake in that demon seed, my suggestion is to really chew it like a cow chews their cud. Just really get it, just really, really get it full of your saliva. And then just like a big swig of cider, because you don't want it to go down the wrong way. Because if you do, it will cut up your throat in so many pieces that you'll be putting your throat back together for the rest of your life.
Wow.
Interesting thought. Nice.
Ooh.
We do have some audience questions we might want
Oh,
to throw at you, if that's all right, Ms. Needles.
yes, please, by all means, ask
Great.
away.
Well, Chuck is asking a good question about catapulting candy. If he wants to do that because of social distancing, what is the best treat to launch?
Mm. Chuck, I like how your mind works. As we know, this season now more than ever, safety is at a premium. And let's hope, Chuck, you are masked up. But back to this catapult question. As we know, catapults were medieval weaponry. And so if you're going to use them on little children, might I suggest something with a marshmallow? Therefore, if they do try and catch it, it will at least have some squish. I would avoid anything that's heavy with nuts, heavily nutted, or perhaps something that can break away, like scattershot, uh, like a Skittles or something. So at least the impact isn't all collectively together. And I really, really don't aim at the face. You really want to aim towards the middle of the body, the pillowcase zone, if you will, not at the little eyeballs. Excellent question, though. An excellent use of a catapult. You know, I was once catapulted into a vat of dark chocolate, and I had to swim my way out.
Very
It
interesting.
sounds tasty.
Mm.
Venetia, I'd like to shift gears if I could.
Yes.
As you know, there's so many things to be afraid of these days: vampires, werewolves, mummies. Are there any new monsters that we should be on the lookout this Halloween season?
Oh, yes. Yes, Patrick, good question. I'm so glad you asked that. There's monsters great and small. Now, we all know that right now we're supposed to keep a safe social distance away from people. But there's a phenomenon starting where not only are people trying to shake your hands, but there's a three-handed man that's running around. Not only does he want to shake your hand once, but he wants to shake your hand thrice. 3 shakes, 3 more opportunities to spread human connection. It's quite terrifying and also appealing. So beware of the three-handed man. On top of that, you know, ever since we've all been quarantined, the woods have decided to expand. And there's been quite a few new werewolf sightings. And they're not just werewolves, they're also werebears and were-raccoons. That's right, were-bears. By day, they look like jovial men in buffalo plaid flannels. But by night, they turn into bears. It's exhilarating and also terrifying. Where raccoons are quite another story because, as we know, raccoons are just scary in general. The little creatures with their little hands, and they eat all the garbage. They just chomp away on your old soda cans. Well, a were raccoon is quite terrifying because they turn into more of a raccoon.
Huh.
That's
That's
very
right.
interesting.
Instead of turning into a human, they turn into a more raccoon. So raccoon times 2.
Hmm.
So like a bigger raccoon.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, Patrick. Terrifying.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Scott brings up an interesting point. Can you train bats to pass out candy? Would that be a safe way to do it?
Well, Scott, yes, that would be safe. Everyone's afraid of bats, but again, they get a very bad rap. You know, bats are so intelligent. Just make sure they don't spread any of their feces on the packaging, because as we all know, exposure to bat feces can turn you crazy over time. Much like being in a room filled with asbestos. bat excrement can make you see things. And sometimes people want to do that. So I know I had a few friends in college that traveled to a cave in South America just so they could snort the fumes of bat feces. And they tripped for 3 days straight. They said it was pretty fun, but I don't think they ever fully recovered.
Oh no.
So if you do train them, Scott, tread lightly.
Great. That's great advice. That's great advice.
Yes, very good advice. Lori would like to know what the most popular costume this year will be. What's the safest costume?
Lori, what a great question. The safest costume would be Bubble Boy. As we all know, the famous film where Jake Gyllenhaal was a little boy in a bubble, an indie classic, if you will. Now, if you want to recreate that, I highly suggest becoming the Bubble Boy. That would be the safest one. The second safest costume would be a character that nobody likes. Like, oh, I don't know, an IRS agent, or perhaps, I don't know, a roundabout. If you dressed up like one of your kicky roundabouts that frustrates and confuses the new Pragians, then I think you should terrify and annoy, which is of course the best Halloween costume of all.
Michael was wondering. He says we're talking a lot about treats. I'm interested in what tricks are recommended during a pandem-oween.
I love this. I love this, Michael. Good question. Now, if you want to trick safely, what you do is you take a big bag of beans and then you put it into a pot and then you make chili. And you say, who wants to come over from my house for some delicious chili? And everyone's like, I do. And then they're like, oh, dang. We're not allowed into other people's homes right now. Trick! Oh, it's so dastardly. What trick indeed? Oh, no. They'll be mad at you for ages. And
That's
the trick of the season.
That is an awful, awful
Isn't
trick.
that terrible?
Yes.
Horrifying.
And yet it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I also think if you set up a playground, a fake playground, say, and you say, look, children, here's a safe playground you can play on. And when they get close to the playground, they realize that everything isn't made out of child-safe plastic and metals. No, everything's been made out of popsicle sticks, and it's not load-bearing. So the minute they step on the steps to the slide, it all collapses down. Ha ha! You can't play now, children. Now you just have to look at all these sticks of popsicles that have already been eaten. What a mean trick to play.
Awful. Just awful.
Terrible.
Isn't that wild?
Mm-hmm.
Wild stuff. Wild stuff, Anisha.
Speaking of parks, I did go around. I had some time today, Patrick, to go around town, and I took some pictures of areas that I just wasn't sure about the safety that was going on, and I wanted to get your feedback, Miss Needles. Actually, I took a video of Main Street last night because this will be where a lot of Halloween activity will be taking place. So, Ms. Needles, can you take a look at this video and just tell us what how to be safe? This is clearly a dangerous area of town. Just let us know about what pitfalls to look out for.
Excellent. Oh, well. Now you can see in this video clearly that quite a lot is happening. This street is abuzz with activity, and on oh dear. See, the first thing, and I haven't even mentioned it yet because it's so second nature, but you always want to watch for traffic, especially on this very busy road in New Prague. We had one car come by, and you didn't see it coming, and you certainly couldn't. You can watch it going because but you have to make sure you look both ways. And my suggestion is you cover an entire side of the street and then cross, and then you cover the entire other street. Don't zigzag. Even if the teenagers are doing it, don't zigzag. Now, this street, I mean, it looks like not a lot is going on. And to the untrained eye, that is exactly what you see, of course. But we know better now, don't we? That behind closed doors, there is somebody who just, took their bra off and is getting into their pajamas and or doing, I don't know, the Sunday crossword on a Tuesday, and then things get out of hand. So tread lightly, my friends.
Well, I'm so glad we have you here. I never would have thought of that. It looked like nothing was going on, but clearly so many things that we can't see.
Absolutely. And another thing is that in between the buildings, there are shadows. And in the shadows, there are answers. Answers to questions that you might not be ready to ask yourself. Like the other day when I was tiptoeing down an alleyway, I looked at a shadow I saw against a dumpster and I thought to myself, what is it all for? And then I scared myself to death. I fear I fainted for a good solid 35 minutes. And when I was awoken, I didn't have any more answers, just more questions.
Amazing.
Dark stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We do have some other pictures that I might show you and get your opinion on, if that's okay. If we still have
Yes,
some
by all
time.
means.
Great.
I love to serve.
All right. Here's the first one. Just let us know where the safety pitfalls might be.
Oh, yes. Well, as you can see, that's an archway. In the back here, that's an archway for no reason. And as you know, oftentimes we think they're just signage for local eateries and whatnot. But we know that that's a hoax because in New Prague there are no local eateries. So clearly that's a porthole to hell. Okay, so that must be avoided at all costs. If you go through, make sure you double back through the same way you came and then say, uliarki, oi, 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 at the end, just to make sure no demons follow you back. And that picnic table is not really a picnic table. That is a newfangled minimalist coffin. And they've just left it out. Some vampire just awoke and left it out. So a lot of vampires are doing this nowadays. Instead of doing the whole coffin with, sides and a top, they're just making these like blonde wood slabs, and then they're putting slabs on all the sides so their friends can like hang out. But it's a very dangerous place to be. As you know, you don't want to be in a vampire's coffin.
That sounds very dangerous.
Very dangerous. Oh,
Goodness. Is that
that's how dangerous it is, Ben. The hounds of hell are calling.
is that one of those raccoon werewolves?
Yes,
A were raccoon?
the were raccoon, the double raccoon. Oh, dear Lord. This is very interesting because this might just look like typical Halloween decor. But what you don't know is oftentimes when you see tombstones in the yard like this is the time when murderers use Halloween as an excuse to just bury their dead in the yard. So that these tombstones, they think they're fake tombstones, but really they are actually graves. And that is the scariest thing of all. So if you are going to trick or treat at this house, do not step on any of these graves. Also, another thing about tombstones is that sometimes tombstones are actually the tongues of giant stone creatures, and they're sticking them out as a nana nana boo boo, you can't see me doo doo kind of thing, but they're there. They're laying right under the ground. So if you walk by, doodly doo, then they'll just eat you up. So tread lightly again.
Hmm.
Tread lightly. Oh, well, this is obvious. Everyone thinks that this is appropriate decor, but truly, this is a weapon. This is just a straight up weapon right by a baseball field that does not make any sense at all. That's a cannon, I believe, and that is a full-on weapon. Perhaps the new Pragian that asked about the catapult could also use this mechanism to deliver candy. But of course, the dangers here are obvious. That is indeed a weapon of war, and it's pretty close to like where kids play baseball. So, you know, I, I'd say be careful there. Also, wheels. Everyone thinks they're the world's greatest invention, but wheels do roll over you from time to time.
Oh, that is
And,
true. I didn't even
and
think of that.
yes, yes. Mm.
This looks particularly dangerous.
Oh, yes. Nothing is more dangerous than wet cement. Oh my God. At any moment, a little squirrel could walk across it and put its little feet in that wet cement. And then you have this like slab of cement that's, got its feet all over it. And then what do? Then you have this imperfect slab of cement when you could have had a perfect slab of cement. But I think the real question here is what it's covering. And it's clearly covering a cavern for those stone monsters that stick their tongues out.
Of course.
And and they're just hiding under that stone slab going, nana nana boo boo. You can't tell we're here. You can't see us. You don't even really know about us because you're just hearing about it now for the first time. And oh dear, oh, we're gonna come out and grab you. That's what's happening there. So don't go tap dancing upon it, children and adults alike.
This path looked a little dangerous as well. I was wondering if you could comment.
Yes. Well, yes. Ever heard the poem, I took the road less traveled by, and it's made all the difference? Well, that poem is oft misquoted because what Robert Frost was really talking about was paths like this. He's saying, I took the road less traveled by, and I ended up at my ex-girlfriend's house, and then she kind of like offered me, a beer, and then I stayed for too long, and then we ended up getting back together for 6 months, and I didn't really want to get back together, but she's got this like way about her that confuses me, and I just waste my time, and I end up losing my job because I was just there all the time. And she was like, oh, can you mount my TV on the wall? Dangerous when he could have been marrying the love of his life the whole time.
We do have one more photo for your, safety expertise to look at. While we do that, if there are any other audience questions, please put them in the chat. We'd be happy to have Miss Needles address those as well. So this is the final safety picture for Miss Needles.
Oh, what a terrifying beast. Oh my God. I heard tales that the hounds of hell would come to us in packaging that we weren't quite aware of. But to come to us as the world's strongest woman, I think that's terrifying indeed. If you see this creature, run. And certainly don't give it little scritches under its neck, because that's what it wants you to do. It wants to go, hello, puppy. You're so cute. Are you wearing a Wonder Woman dress? But don't do it. Don't do it, because it will bite your neck and drag you to the pits of despair instantly.
Thank you for covering that, Miss Needles. We really appreciate it.
Yes. I hope you found that illuminating.
I know I did.
Very, very limiting. I have no questions about anything you said tonight. It was all airtight.
Yes, crystal clear.
Thank you.
Lenore has a question about popcorn balls. Should
Evermore.
we make them? Should we use color in the popcorn balls, or should they remain white? What's safest?
Oh, well, Lenore, to quote the Raven, I shall say, Lenore, this is really a personal question. When you put food coloring into your popcorn balls, what you're almost telling the person, like, this is who I am. This is what I believe. When you leave them just regular popcorn colored, then you're inviting in a mystery. So it depends. Do you want them to know your life story, or do you want to keep it behind closed doors? Because, say, I colored my balls orange for the season, but then they thought I was an orange ball kind of gal. Well, that's another story because clearly I'm not.
Kathy wants to know what is a safe adult beverage to consume during this interesting time.
Oh, Kathy, water. That's first and foremost. Water, Kathy. Lots and lots of water. And then in between your sips of water, heavy grain alcohol. You want your malt liquors, you want your wheat ales, you want your ciders but alcoholic ciders. These are the things that will keep your insides nice and warm for the season, okay? Because we need to remain sturdy and effervescent during these times, and that will get us there. Just lots and lots of grain alcohols. Just sometimes I just pop some popcorn kernels into my mouth and then chug it down with some rubbing alcohol. It kind of does the same trick. Whatever gets you there so you can stay on the level. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
I wouldn't recommend that at home, though.
Mm.
I am a professional after all.
Angela wants to know if it's safe enough for college kids to go out trick-or-treating this year.
Well, well. Is it ever? I don't know. Oftentimes I find that even though they're receiving a higher education, college kids are the stupidest of them all. And because they think they're invincible when really they're not. Their bodies are soft. Their heads have just formed the hard layer. Up until 2 months ago, they had been soft skulled indeed. So I say, if you do go out, college youth, tread lightly, because you don't want to burst your newly formed skull. You want it to stay nice and hard so you can make it to adulthood. If that makes sense.
Yes, be
Perfect
careful
sense.
with your soft skull, Angela.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks the skull hardens by the time you reach 1 year old, but that's a misnomer. They just want you to think you have a hard skull, so you're not too scared to leave your apartment. But I say the skull stays soft until you reach 30 years of age. So tread lightly.
Toby wants to know what's the best way to carve a pumpkin.
Toby. Well, I don't know about you, but I've procured the claw of a saber-toothed tiger. It looks like a dragon's claw to the untrained eye, but it is the tiger's claw of fossilitic era, and I just use it to pierce the skin of a pumpkin. And what I find is this gives me a sharp line. Yes, of course, you could go get one of the serrated knives that you use to cut your breads and cheeses. Or you can use the claw or teeth of an enemy. And I find that makes the best jack-o'-lantern.
I'm going to try that. That sounds obvious to me. I can't believe I haven't done that before. The teeth of an enemy.
Yes.
Yes. We do have a couple more questions, and then we'll let you go. Do you have time, Venetia?
Of
Sorry.
course I have time.
Great.
I'm here to serve at the pleasure.
Brandon wants to know, would it be safer to leave the wife and kids at home and trick or treat by himself?
No, absolutely not. In fact, you should stay home, Brandon, and make your wife and kids go out if you're concerned about safety. You know, in lion packs, the lionesses are the ones that do the hunting. So if you know it's good for you, Brandon, you let your wife go hunt for candy, and while you stay home.
There we have it.
Sounds
This one is one I had never thought of before. Bobby wants to know, if I put out a Tupperware on Halloween, will a ghost pee in it? If I drink said pee, will I have good luck for the rest of the year? Or is that only with leprechauns on St. Patrick's Day?
Ooh, wow. Hack.
Well, Bobby clearly knows the tale, an unknown tale yet completely true, that on every St. Patrick's Day, if you put out a dish, a leprechaun will come by and pee in said dish. Then if you drink that pee, you shall have good luck for the year. Well, I will say to you, Bobby, the opposite is true on Halloween. Because if anything pees in any dish, it surely will bring bad luck. Unless, of course, it's silver pea. If if you have a creature piss silver into a candy dish on Halloween, you should not drink it, but should you bathe in it, you could have goodish luck for 10 to 12 days of your choosing. So it's a lot of math. I'm not sure it's worth it, but you could try. No, it's very different from the leprechaun. Very different from the leprechaun legend. That's for sure.
I have to admit, I knew nothing about any of that, so that was very educational.
Seems
Well,
like
that's why I'm here, Ben, darling.
Well, I don't. Chuck said it best. I think watching Venetia Needles preach about Halloween is like listening to Michelangelo paint.
Oh, Chuck, you doll. I wish could be with you in person and tickle you with this feather. In a very Catholic way, if you know what I mean.
we do. We know exactly what you mean.
Yes,
Venetia.
I think everyone knows.
Yes, because it's a family show.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. So
Well, Ms. Needles, we don't want to keep you any longer. We heard that you do have something. You have to go lifeguard an apple bobbing event in Shakopee. Is that true?
Yes, yes, because they so often drown. Oh, Shakopee, will they ever get it together?
Well,
yes, this has been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure. And just know, be safe out there, Halloweenians, New Pragians. Be safe and don't let your candles blow out too soon.
cool.
thank you very much, Miss Needles.
Wonderful.
Patrick,
Wonderful.
thank you so much for joining us this evening and helping us out with the absence of Amanda.
It's been an absolute pleasure. It's safe to say I've learned more tonight than I have these past 5 months. So it's been a wonderful evening for me.
I quite agree. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in and making sure that you know how to remain safe this holiday season. Until next time, I'm Ben TG. Good night.